The film industry has always had to battle for its audience's attention. In 2024, it relies on social media to market their films and online streaming platforms to distribute them. In this documentary, we will be taking a look at how the film industry has adapted their marketing and distribution efforts over the years.
And now Jimmy Wallington introduces Nils T. Granlund, known as NTG.
The biggest producer of nightclub shows on Broadway, the big brother of every girl in the show business, has started more chorus girls on their way to stardom than any other man in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Nils T. Granlund.
This is Niles Granlund, who created the first ever trailer when he spliced together clips of rehearsal footage for the Broadway show The Pleasure Seekers. The trailer was an instant hit with audiences and would soon be replicated throughout the industry. In 1919, Herman Robbins created the National Screen Service, who quickly monopolized the creation of movie posters and trailers from the 1920s to the 1960s. They created their own style of trailers filled with screen wipe transitions and fly-in titles. A good example of this is their 1943 trailer for Casablanca.
6 desperate people, each in Casablanca, to keep an appointment with destiny.
For movie trailers to progress from Niles Granlund's simple rehearsal compilation to trailers like Casablanca created by the NSS, the key missing element was the medium of sound. Through the creation of the Vitaphone in 1927, this progression became possible.
Now I've placed the record on the turntable and also located the reproducing element ready to start for reproduction of the record itself. The movement of this needle generating an electric current, very weak, which is amplified, and the current then goes to the special loud-speaking telephones which are mounted adjacent to the motion picture screen. We'll ask the operator now to start the rest of the recording machinery.
All the time in the tropical climate where they do that for you.
Warner Brothers would quickly take advantage of the Vitaphone to produce the first synchronized dialogue in a feature film, with musician Al Jolson in The Jazz Singer.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am privileged to say a few words to you in this most modern and novel manner. The first living Vitaphone announcement ever made. What is the picture? Oh, well, of course. You've guessed that I'm referring to Warner Brothers' supreme triumph, Al Jolson in The Jazz Singer. A big hit in New York, to such an extent that Warner Brothers Theater in New York City, where The Jazz Singer is now playing, is sold out for many weeks in advance.
Al Jolson's soon-to-be famous words, "You ain't heard nothing yet," would cause audiences to give standing ovations and applause, as well as forever changing their expectations of cinema.
Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute, I tell you, you ain't heard nothing. You want to hear Toot Toot Tootsie? All right, hold on. Toot Toot Tootsie, goodbye. Toot Toot Tootsie, don't cry. Watch for the mail, I'll never fail. If you don't get a letter, then you know I'm in jail, hey, hey.
As time went on, the NSS took over production and distribution of movie posters and signed exclusive contracts with all the major studios. These posters were wildly popular and would even become collector's items.
We're Hollywood Movie Posters in Hollywood, in the heart of Hollywood, in Artisan's Patio. And I'm the owner of Hollywood Movie Posters, a store which I opened in 1979 and going into its 41st year.
The NSS would continue to dominate the production of movie posters until a loss of advertising space available for movies occurred due to the change from small individual screen theatres to large multiplexes in the 1980s.
Today in the Walt Disney Studios in Hollywood, there is coming into being something entirely new in entertainment. A motion picture called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The first full-length feature animated production in cinema history. Everyone has made his own movies by drawing figures in different positions on successive pages of a pad and flipping the leaves to make the figures move. This is the fundamental principle behind the making of animated motion pictures at the Walt Disney Studios today.
In 1929, Walt Disney would license the likeness of Mickey Mouse to be used on a writing tablet to fund productions at Disney Studios. 1930s Mickey Mouse merchandise is widely considered as the first movie merchandise to exist and is still widely popular to collectors even to this day.
This is it, the Mouse House. That's all from the 1930s.
Mickey Mouse was wildly popular in the 1930s. This is all pre-Disneyland.
Oh, definitely pre-Disneyland. Disneyland was 1955, where the first merchandise was produced around 1929, 1930.
Yeah, I think the first merchandise piece was someone ran into Walt Disney in a lobby and wanted to give him $300 so he could put Mickey Mouse on a notepad.
That's exactly right.
In the very same year, the stock market would suddenly crash, bringing what is now known as the Great Depression.
A report from Detroit says men are sitting in the parks all day long, out of work, muttering to themselves.
Despite not being an essential in such a time of poverty, movie theatres were still regularly packed out as they offered working-class Americans needed escapism. During the Great Depression, films like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs would reflect the mood of the era by presenting the ethics of hard work that many would hope would bring them out of the Great Depression.
Ship after ship from the New World brings to Britain fresh thousands of American soldiers.
During World War II, the Hollywood film industry cooperated closely with the government to support its War Aim information campaign.
Are these your coupons, Bob?
Yeah, I'm giving them to Frank. I got plenty.
How'd you get them?
It's easy. I buy them. I don't know where the guy I buy them from gets them, and I'm not asking any questions. Gets me extra gas, get it?
Yeah, I get it.
Hey, wait
a minute. You haven't got the guy who's up to his neck in this war effort. I've got every right.
Oh, don't start waving the flag at me. I'm just as good an American as you are. I buy bonds, I give blood.
And steal gas, the blood of our war effort.
The government created the Bureau of Motion Picture Affairs to aid the production of entertainment featuring patriotic morale-boosting themes about the American way of life and civilian responsibility on the home front, with the film Why We Fight being mandatory for military recruits to watch. As a result of this government intervention, Hollywood experienced its most stable and lucrative years in history up until that point. From the early 1960s, star directors would begin to redefine the movie trailer by producing their own inventive trailers, bringing an end to the National Screen Service's dominance over trailers. Alfred Hitchcock, who was already a well-known director of the time, would create a trailer for Psycho, taking audiences on a tour of the house from the film, rather than just showing scenes from the movie.
Good afternoon. Here we have a quiet little motel. It has now become known as the scene of the crime. An old house, which is, if I may say so, a little more sinister looking, less innocent than the motel itself. These stairs that the second murder took place. She came out of the door there.
Another star director of the time, Stanley Kubrick, would experiment with fragmented cutting styles in the trailer for 1962's Lolita and continue his creative ideas of what a trailer should look like with 1964's Dr. Strangelove.
Attack!
Russia. Oh. Bass.
There is a creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution, as if God created the devil and gave him jaws.
A key moment in the development and progression of Hollywood's marketing and distribution methods came with the release of Steven Spielberg's Jaws in 1975. Back then, audiences had not yet fully embraced the idea of going to theatres during the summer, so there was some risk in releasing the movie during the warmer weather months. But Jaws helped change that, and the movie is considered the first summer blockbuster in film history.
I was a kid when Jaws came out, but I remember that in prime time every night there'd be, these scary trailers for Jaws on TV. And so by the time it opened in the summer of '75, people were hyped.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
It was a blockbuster about summer, set in summer, about things that we totally associate with summer.
Jaws was the first successful film to be released widely across the US, rather than just premiering in large cities to begin with. Opening in 464 theatres on June the 25th, 1975. Universal sunk in $700,000 in television advertising to aid this unprecedented release, which more than paid off.
It has already made more than $100 million.
Kind of been uneasy and keep turning around and looking to see what's behind me as well as in front.
In a world where movie trailers needed a voice, Don LaFontaine was that voice.
You're possibly responsible for selling more movie tickets than anyone alive.
Well, I would like to think so. Yeah, I hope so.
I've heard people in the industry refer to you as the voice of God. I mean, does that go to your head?
I think God actually sounds like Oprah.
From the 70s all the way through to the 2000s, film fans became very accustomed to his famous catchphrase.
In a world where the sun burns gold.
In a world that's powered by violence. On the streets where the violent have power. In a world without gas.
In a world where owning a radio was strictly forbidden.
Don voiced over 5,000 movie trailers, and the scrolling list in the next segment illustrates just how many that is.
Don LaFontaine is the undisputed king of movie trailers, a profession he fell into over 40 years ago.
The first movie spot that I ever did was for Gunfighters of Casa Grande, which was a huge epic from Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer.
When I was really busy, I've done as many as 26 sessions in a day and over 130, 140 spots.
In one day?
Yeah.
And that's your backstage pass with Don LaFontaine.
When it comes to merchandising in the film industry, Disney's commercial success remained an exception. In 1977, 48 years on from the first Disney merchandise, 20th Century Fox would release Star Wars, along with a full-scale licensing program. Toy manufacturer Kenner Products signed a contract to produce Star Wars toys just 1 month before the film's release. This, coupled with issues regarding manufacturing times, would mean that the figures would not be ready for the Christmas shopping season. Despite this, after the release of the final edition of the original Star Wars trilogy in 1985, the company had sold approximately 250 million action figures. Just a few years after the release of Star Wars A New Hope, Steven Spielberg's own sci-fi movie E.T. would also have its own merchandising campaign.
My kids are wild about E.T. Now there's a whole collection of E.T. toys.
There's Elliot on his bike with E.T. Aren't these little E.T.s cute?
My kids really love their E.T. toys.
The amount of movie merchandise accelerated dramatically during the 1990s, with Disney Pixar's The Lion King selling more than $1 billion in merchandising in 1994 alone. Prior to the release of the Simpsons movie in 2007, 20th Century Studios partnered with convenience store chain 7-Eleven in order to create a very clever marketing campaign, where 12 7-Eleven stores were transformed into the famous Quickie Mart from the Simpsons television show. Each store carried products that had previously only existed in the show. There were queues around the corner from the opening day, causing a huge buzz around the release of the movie.
Contract or no, I will not bow to any sponsor.
As Hollywood has increasingly commercialized over the years, they have earned a lot of money through product placement. 2014's Transformers 4 contained product placement for a staggering 55 brands. Films like this are why product placement is often frowned upon by viewers due to its shameless on-the-nose nature, which was highlighted in 1992's Wayne's World.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
I can't talk about it anymore. It's giving me a headache.
Here, take 2 of these.
Since 1985, movies have quickly entered viewers' homes, with video rental services like Blockbuster Video originally being responsible for this. Though they had massive success initially, they would fail to adapt with the market and eventually went out of business in 2014.
From DVDs in the mail to entertaining the entire world.
In 1994, Netflix would create a service that allowed users to receive movies by post, though they would soon adapt with the market and become an online streaming service, with Netflix having over 140 million active users in 2018.
Want to watch a story? It's a good one. When Netflix arrived 25 years ago, the net looked a lot like this, and the flicks looked a lot like that. And then, hey, Netflix shows up.
Go to Netflix.com. Make a list of the movies you want to see. It's easy.
Suddenly, millions of DVDs are flying through the mail. I never returned this one. That's on me. But at a certain point, DVDs just couldn't keep up. Luckily, by that time, the internet could. Streaming was born, and binge became the new way we watch stuff.
With a brand new method of distributing movies came a brand new method of marketing them too. Social media is hugely effective in getting the word out about a movie, but many question the ethics of it. The marketing campaign for the second Hunger Games movie is a great example of this.
Catching Fire is coming out.
I've seen the ad online.
Commercials on YouTube. A lot of my friends would post pictures.
Are tweeting a lot about it.
Like new movie posters and like the outfits. Like this page about the Hunger Games movie.
It's exciting. It lures you in.
Yeah, I am excited about it coming out.
What's designed to look like a grassroots wave of excitement is actually a meticulously planned marketing strategy. Sitting in her bedroom trying to win sparks and badges by liking the Hunger Games,
convincing each other, oh wow, look, that's really cool, did you see that?
She's actually part of the marketing campaign itself.
You get like 10 sparks or 15 sparks for sharing something or making something on Tumblr or whatever, or Twitter, Facebook. I find out about it, I tweet about it then, and like more people see it.
Every bit of it is being manipulated from the beginning of the campaign to the end. A year out. So they're sort of really working hard to pretend that it all happens by magic. It's Hollywood, it happens by magic, right?
As I hope has been highlighted by this documentary, the film industry has been an ever-changing landscape with lots of moving parts that has led us to where we are today, which I don't think will change anytime soon, and I'm sure that if I was to create a second part to this documentary in another 110 years' time, there would be just as much for me to speak about.